Hi children, it's Mr Yeardsley here again, going to read you another story, this time for our Year 1 children. I thought I'd come into the nest because it's nice and a bright sunny day. I know some of you come in the nest quite often to work with Mrs Brown, because when we've got classes that are all named after birds, where do you go to get nice and comfy? You come to the nest. I'm sat in one of the comfy chairs there. I hope you're all behaving well and doing the right thing. I've chosen the story for Year 1 called Alfie Gives a Hand, and it's by an author called Shirley Hughes, and quite often I read a story called Dogger to you. Dogger is about, do you remember about a little boy and his cuddly pet Dogger? Well, Shirley Hughes wrote Dogger, and you might be able to tell from some of the pictures and some of the words that she uses that she wrote this story quite a long time ago, in the 1970s or 1980s. So think when things were just a little bit different, when I was younger, so that's a while ago. And the story's called Alfie Gives a Hand. What does it mean if you give somebody a hand? Really give your hand to somebody? What are you doing? I wonder. Let's find out. One day, Alfie came home from school with a card in an envelope. His best friend, Bernard, had given it to him. See, Bernard's quite an old name, isn't it? Look, it's got my name on it, said Alfie, pointing. Mum said it was an invitation to Bernard's birthday tea party. Ooh, we still go to parties now, though. You've been to a party before? Whose was it? Will it be at Bernard's house? Alfie wanted to know. He'd never been there before. Mum said yes, and she told him all about birthday parties and how you had to take a present and about the games and how there'd be nice things there to eat. Alfie was very excited about Bernard's party. When the day came, Mum washed Alfie's face and brushed his hair and helped him put on a clean t-shirt and his brand new shorts. There he is, looking very smart. You and Auntie Rose going to be at the party too, aren't you? Asked Alfie. Oh no, said Mum. I'll take you to Bernard's house and then Annie Rose and I will go to the park and come back to collect you when it's time to go home. But I want you there, said Alfie. Mum told him that she and Annie Rose hadn't been invited to the party, only Alfie, because he was Bernard's special friend. You don't mind my leaving you at nursery school, do you, as it is, she said. So you won't mind being at Bernard's house either. As soon as you get there, it'll be fine, she thought. Mum had bought some crayons for Alfie to give Bernard for his birthday present. While she was wrapping them up, Alfie went upstairs and he looked under his pillow and found his old bit of blanket, which he kept in bed with him at night. He brought it downstairs and sat down to wait for Mum. There he is. What's he doing with it? Can you see? I wonder how do you think he's feeling? You won't want your old blanket at the party, said Mum, when it was time to go. But Alfie wouldn't leave his blanket behind. He held it tightly with one hand and Bernard's present with the other hand, all the way to Bernard's house. When they got there, Bernard's mum opened the door. Hello, Alfie, she said. Let's go into the garden and find Bernard and the others. Then Mum gave Alfie a kiss and said goodbye and went off to the park with Annie Rose. There she is. You see Annie Rose in a pushchair? Would you like to put your blanket down here with the coats? Asked Bernard's mum. But Alfie didn't want to put his blanket down. He still held onto it very tightly. Can you see? Bernard was in the garden with Min and Sam and Daniel and some other children from the school. Happy birthday, Alfie remembered to say, and he gave Bernard his present. Bernard pulled off the paper. Crayons, how lovely, said Bernard's mum. Say thank you, Bernard. Thank you, said Bernard. But do you know what he did then? He threw the crayons up in the air. They landed all over the grass. "That was a silly thing to do," said Bernard's mum, as she picked up the crayons and put them away. Do you think she should have picked up the crayons for him? I don't think so. I think that was a little bit silly and rude. Then Bernard's mum brought out some bubble stuff and blew lots of bubbles into the air. They floated all over the garden and the children jumped about trying to pop them. That looks like a fun game, doesn't it? Alfie couldn't pop many bubbles because he was holding onto his blanket. But Bernard jumped about and pushed and popped more bubbles than anyone else. "Oh, don't push people, Bernard," said Mum sternly. I don't think he's behaving very well at his party at all, do you? One huge bubble landed lightly on Min's sleeve. It stayed there, quivering and shiny. Can you see it? Min smiled. She stood very still. Then Bernard came up behind her and he popped the big bubble. Oh dear. Min began to cry. Bernard's mum was cross with Bernard and told him to say he was sorry. "Never mind, we're going to have tea now, dear," she told Min. "Who'd you like to sit next to?" Min wanted to sit next to Alfie. She stopped crying and she pulled a chair right up close to him. You see. For tea, there were sandwiches and little sausages on sticks and crisps and jellies and a big iced cake with candles and "Happy Birthday, Bernard" written on it. Bernard took a huge breath and blew all the candles out at once. Whoo! Everyone clapped and sang "Happy Birthday" to Bernard. Then Bernard blew into his lemonade through his straw and made rude bubbling noises. He blew into his jelly too until his mum took it away from him. He's not behaving very well, can you see? Alfie liked the tea, but holding onto his blanket made eating rather difficult. It got all mixed up with the jelly and crisps and covered in sticky crumbs. I wouldn't like to touch that blanket now. After tea, Bernard's mum said that they were all going to play a game, but Bernard ran off and he fetched his very best present. It was a tiger mask. There he is. Bernard went behind a bush and came out wearing the mask, making terrible growling noises. Grrr, 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 grrr. He went crawling round the garden, sounding very fierce and frightening. Min began to cry again. She clung onto Alfie. "Get up at once, Bernard," said Bernard's mum. "It's not that kind of game. Now let's all stand in a circle, everyone, and join hands." Bernard stopped growling, but he wouldn't take off his tiger mask. Instead, he grabbed Alfie's hand to pull him into the circle. Bernard's mum tried to take Min's hand and bring her into the circle too, but Min wouldn't hold anyone's hand but Alfie's. She went on crying. She cried and she cried and she cried. Then Alfie made a brave decision. He ran and put down his blanket very carefully in a safe place underneath the table. Now he could hold Min's hand too, as well as Bernard's. Min stopped crying. She wasn't frightened of Bernard in his tiger mask now. She was holding Alfie's hand. She joined in the game and they all danced round together singing, "Ring-a-ring-a-roses, a pocket full of posies, a tissue, we all fall down." Afterwards, Alfie and Min joined in with some more games and ate ice cream and popcorn and bounced balloons with the others. Alfie had such a good time that his blanket stayed under the table until Mum and Annie Rose came to collect him. They all are playing and having a nice time. "What a helpful guest you've been, Alfie," said Bernard's mum when Alfie thanked her and said goodbye. "Min would not have enjoyed the party at all, a bit, without you. I do wish Bernard would learn to be helpful sometimes." Perhaps he will, one day. On the way home, Alfie carried his blanket in one hand and a balloon and a packet of sweets in the other. His blanket had got a bit messy at the party. It had been rather in the way too. Next time, he thought, he might leave it safely at home after all. Why do you think Alfie wanted that blanket in the first place? How do you think he was feeling about going to the party? Why did Min get upset? Can you tell me why? And what did Alfie do to make Min better and give her a hand? I think I've worked it out now. I think giving somebody a hand is helping out, because you helped out Min, didn't you? And you need to be helping out at home too, don't you, at this time? The way you can do that is by remembering our school motto. If you see someone without a smile, give them one of yours. Keep smiling, children.